Hi guys. So, as per request, I'm answering the Jedi Alliance Star Wars questions. Um, oh, and just so you notice, I kind of rearranged the Star Wars bookshelf, took out the non-canon stuff, and now it's all nice and spaced out for new stuff. Anyway, so, um, and I was thinking of maybe doing some crazy edit thing, where it's like I tried to like look for video of each of you asking, the questions and then me putting my answer, but I'm like, I'm not that tech savvy. So, alright, so first time watching Star Wars. Um, again, I wrote all this down like literally like a year or two ago, or not two, maybe like a year ago or something. But I'd like to say A New Hope, but I can't really remember. Um, though what I do remember is going down to my local video store, Potomac Video, not Blockbuster or anything, and getting the VHSs over and over and over again over the years. Definitely remember that, and I think I even remember looking for. I can't remember. I feel like I remember like choosing specific covers of the VHSs because like I liked the poster art on one better than the other. I can't remember, but I remember doing that definitely multiple times. Like I'd check them out, that rent them a lot over and over. But I do remember watching um, episode 2 and 3 in the theater. I remember episode 2, one bit, which I probably won't ever forget, when Yoda comes on, when he's about to battle Dooku, and, we hear the stick walking or whatever, we hear the walking, and then he comes in the door, and literally the whole theater started applauding, and I was like, ha, that's awesome. I mean, I applaud too, of course, but it was like, I'd never seen that before, so I was like, whoa, that's cool. And then in episode 3, I remember specifically when Anakin's turning to the dark side and he's marching on the temple and everything, and the music is all changed and all the tone. When everything started to slip down, I remember just kind of like having my hands, like I was like sitting up and like leaning over with like my hands like this, kind of like kind of in a thinking position, just because I was like so wrapped up in everything that was happening. I was like, this is what's happening. Vader is coming soon, um, and that was intense. So I remember seeing that in the theater. Those two instances. Um, and then the second part of the first question, favorite Star Wars movie. Okay, so originally, so far I've said, I said Revenge of the Sith, just as I was talking about before. Just knowing that this was the falling of Anakin, like knowing that where we were gonna see Vader at the end, like this was everything going wrong. Like there's so many points where you could point out, oh, but if this happened, it wouldn't have happened, or if this person had said the right thing and whatever, there's all these moments where it's like, no, but we know it has to go down to, the bad end of things. What I put? Oh, I put, knew everything was gonna come down crashing in fire and brimstone. There we go. And also, I got that feeling. Oh, that's true. From the lost episodes of the Clone Wars, those end one, all the stuff that kind of tied things together, like with the clones and the one or two clones figuring out what was wrong, and like everything was just like there were so many moments in that last, and especially that arc, the Clone Trooper episodes, where it was like they were so close to figuring it out, so close to potentially stopping it, but then it all obviously had to go wrong. It's going to go wrong because we know what happens. and also a little bit of that in for Rogue One too. Um, so I like that those kind of moments. It's like you know that you want it, you know that it could change, but you know because you know the future of all these characters, or not all the characters, but of the story, that it can't do what you want it to do. So that's kind of why I like Sith the most, because it's all like, as I said before. Question 2, favorite character. Oh, alright. So, on here I have Thrawn, because I've been a fan of him since, the books. I put multiple answers, because it's difficult. So Thrawn, I put Ahsoka, because I've been a fan of her since the beginning. Even, everyone, a lot of fans were like, oh, she's annoying or whatever, and then grew to like her. I liked her from the beginning. Yoda, just because it's Yoda. Come on, and then I'd also put Asajj Ventress, in the show specifically, but also in Dark Disciple, because in that novel you see a lot, like a different side, but also the same side. But the ending is, it's redeeming and everything. So like I like what her character went through, throughout her I guess her life. And also I just guess Obi-Wan, because it's Obi-Wan Kenobi. A lot of people say it's Luke. I had it on here as my list of favorites. And then Palpatine, just because, it's horrible, but it's impressive as hell for him to have played both sides during a galactic war and won. He would have won anyway, but he did everything so almost perfectly, and he did, he planned everything. He planned both sides perfectly. He manipulated every single person that he interacted with ever. And it's impressive as hell. Let's see, what else do I got? Oh, that's right. So I feel like, I remember not necessarily wanting to be a Jedi or a Sith. I just wanted to be someone with a lightsaber. So it's not like I particularly pictured myself as Luke or pictured myself as Han or anything, or any of the characters I mentioned. It was just kind of like, I want to be a Force-using Jedi, lightsaber wielding person in the Star Wars universe. That's kind of just it. And then I wrote, Thrawn and Ahsoka. Love has been there since the beginning of each of their origins, which I said before. And then Thrawn, alright, so specifically with the Thrawn trilogy, it was during a road trip with my parents, a long time ago, and my dad picked up, I'm pretty sure it was only Heir to the Empire audiobook. It might have been the other, no, I think it was only that one, the first one, and we listened to that on the road, and I got really interested. I already was a fan of Star Wars, and this was like more Star Wars, so I was like, this is so cool. And then like I think it was a while before I actually got the book, the Heir to the Empire, and then got the other two. I know it definitely took me a while to get the last two. Maybe Last Command was the one that took longer to get. I can't remember. But that's how I got introduced to Thrawn. And then it was because visualizing it though, when I read that trilogy, everything, I kind of like visualized what the stuff was because it was so descriptive. Like with Luke's dreams about Mara Jade being there and on Tatooine, and taking away the lightsaber when he was, had the plan with R2, and like I had that all in my head, and then all the descriptions, and like the descriptions of Kashyyyk, I had kind of in my head, and then when we saw it in Sith, I was like, this is pretty close to what I imagined in my head. So that was my first introduction to Thrawn, and that all the characters that came out of that. Favorites number 3. Favorite Star Wars quote. Alright. Again, this is difficult. I don't really have a favorite particularly. I think I have. I mean, I've mentioned stuff, so I'm just gonna say it. Oh yeah, so the I am a Jedi like my father before me. Just because it's a line that emulates who Luke is, and him him throwing away his lightsaber, as him being like, I'm doing this for my father as a sign of my faith in him and faith in the Force, even if it kills me. And then a close second is Yoda describing the Force to Luke. It's such an amazing description. And it's the first time we hear such a description of the Force. And it's really kind of the best description there is, and then after Rebels Season 3, definitely I have to say, I'm pretty sure it's my favorite moment in Star Wars, like, ever, right now, is the scene when Mon Mothma calls all the Rebel cells to come to form the Alliance. Like, that moment, it was just like, you're in bated breath, you're just like, this is it, this is the we've had all these cells throughout the previous seasons of Rebels, and this is the beginning of the Alliance itself. Like, it just was the culmination of everything that's happened, that we've seen happen in the books and in Rebels. So that was a really, I think I watched it, when I watched the episode, I think I pulled the player back and watched it 2 more times or something after that, and then I just definitely have that stuck in my head. And then a dark side related scene is always going to be Palpatine telling Anakin about Plagueis, because the way Palpatine looks and he sounds, what did I put? Oh, I put Frelling Shivers, little reference there. Oh, and then also I also put Palpatine wiping the floor with Maul and Savage Press, because I mean, that was just fun to see Palpatine, him showing his power and showing like these two are like flies on the wall that I'm just gonna play with, because I bet he gets bored whenever he's not killing someone, so. That's why he was so excited with his corkscrew spin out, getting the Windu and the Masters. And that's also why I liked, what is it called? Where is it? Oh yeah, Lords of the Sith. Because even, you could see, you read Vader and Palpatine running around on this planet, killing all these creatures or whatever, and it's like, it's great to read how Palpatine, like every time I read him doing some attack or something, I saw it in my head, since we know what he sounds like and how he acts so perfectly. Like, the way it was written, it was just like, oh, I know exactly how that looks in my head, like if it were in a movie. And that's a reason why I would love to see that movie, because I think it would be wonderful and horrible, but wonderful. Number 4. What force power would you want? Okay. Previously I would have said moving things with my mind, because it would be useful, and in emergency situations, depending on what the emergency is, you could move things out of the way to help people and whatnot. But then, since Rebels came on, I actually thought a good power would be Ezra's connection with animals and the Force, the way his connection to the Force works. Um, it would just be interesting to have, and like what other applications it could have. Because I mean, so far with him, we haven't had that in a while. I think the last time we had that was either with those space whale things or with the when he got a little dark side. Although that was ages ago, so it probably isn't that. It probably is the whale things. But I'm interested to see what else we get from him regarding that portion of his force power. And then the final question, number 5. Dark side or the light? Yeah, so I wrote one portion of this, and then later I changed a little bit. So first I wrote, I feel like I would be a Jedi for a while, and I'd try my best not to get too emotional and everything like that, but I probably would dip into the dark side a little bit. Though maybe more of a balance, like mostly light, but use the dark like the Night Sisters do, where they're not like evil. I mean, they're not, they're not Sith, but they use the dark side, and they don't let themselves be consumed, which is also a cool part of Dark Disciple, where we, learned that, where Assad was having to teach, oh god, I just forgot his name, didn't I? Yeah, but yeah, that was just cool, where like she described that, like, we don't let it consume us, but we use it, we master it. So that, I thought that was really cool. And then, oh yeah, alright, so, and then now, after Rebel Season 3 and Rogue One, I thought it would actually be better to be something more aligned with the Bendu or the Force believers, the people who believe in the Jedi and the Force, like where they're not one or the other, they're kind of just a mix, in the in between, or like how the Bendu says it. It's kind of, yeah. So that's pretty much, that's my answer for that. So those were my answers that I wrote a long time ago. That I thought if I ever came to, LA and I got to, somehow be on the show, that's what I would have said. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So bye.